A new Sprint Ride Option podcast, an episode we didn't necessarily expect to do in May, but we're doing it. Brock Purdy signs the extension. Let's talk about it. New Sprint Ride Option podcast now.
Welcome, everybody.
We are live.
My name is Jason Aponte.
I am Andrew Pasquini.
We're working. That's it. We're working over here. That's it. Let's go Niners.
Let's go Niners. Sprint Ride Option podcast. Oh my goodness, we are live, and it is a good day in the world of 49er fans. The news that we were expecting in July or August, it's come across. The 49ers have signed a kicker. No, I'm joking. Brock Purdy signs his extension. It's a doozy, 5 years, $265 million. And listen, we're plenty of time for all the takes. I just want to see how it makes Jason Aponte feel. It makes me feel good knowing that we don't have to let this drag on for the next 3-4 months. We're here. We're there. Purdy is a Niner for at least the next 6 seasons now because it's on top of this year. Exciting news, Jason. What was your instant reaction?
Well, before we get into that, the list of 49ers that no longer play for the 49ers that are in our intro video has grown larger. I just saw Deebo Samuel in this one. So it's Deebo Samuel, Trey Lance, Robbie Gold.
I think
we need a new video badly.
We need a new video. The song can stay. The video needs to change.
Yeah. No, but I think two things are true. One, Brock Purdy wasn't going to be the type to let this drag out and become a distraction.
Yes.
And two, the 49ers had shown that they wanted to get this done because they realized the importance of getting off to a fast start this year. And how do you do that? You have everyone there for all phases of the offseason program, all the way to training camp, extend Fred Warner, and that's it. Just roll this thing into the city, into the start of the season. And, when you think about the strength of schedule, you have to start fast. It's much easier to correct course when you start fast. So yes, I think they didn't want to drag this out. Brock wasn't going to let it drag out.
Yeah.
Brock took less money than I think he could have asked for. That's going to be part of this discussion as well too. He didn't take some super discount to where you just are like, why is he? But he, him taking less than Tua Tagovailoa, that takes somebody, who really cares about the team, because if I was Brock Purdy, I wouldn't let that slide. But that's good. So look, they got it done. They're going to get rolling, and Brock was never going to let this happen. Happy times, man. The vibes are immaculate right now.
Yeah, and we'll get to that list of who's kind of around Brock Purdy in terms of AAV in a little bit here, Jason. Let's just kind of talk about the details we know right now. We don't know the entire structure of the contract. It's still a little early to know all that information. I'm sure that'll come out at some point over the weekend. All we know right now, it's a 5-year, $265 million deal, $181 million guaranteed, $165.05 million in the first 3 years, and then $100 million guaranteed at signing. I'm kind of at the point where you are. Is he could have asked for significantly more, especially when you look at some of the names that are making more money than him. Talking Trevor Lawrence, Dak Prescott, but it's somehow a deal that works for both sides because a lot of headlines I've seen today, no longer Mr. Irrelevant. That plays into this, right? Because I don't want to say him making contract minimum or league minimum the past few years plays a role in the number he settled for, but it was a situation where no matter what the number was, it was going to be wildly higher than what Brock Purdy made. So already just the value of that alone, it's there, right? It's not like you paid him 5 years at a first round value. I believe I saw it was $2.6 million in the first 3 seasons of his career. That was 76th highest among quarterbacks in that span. And Brock Purdy isn't the 76th best quarterback in the NFL. He's, depending how you see it, he's a top 10, top 15 guy. And now he's paid as such. And now it's something that it's gone. We don't have to talk about it for July, August. And now, again, as you said, starting off the season hot, the past 2 seasons, we've had to talk about Brandon Ayuk potentially starting slow. He did start slow. And then Nick Bosa the year before starting slow, and he had a slow start in 2023. Now that conversation's done, and not only is it done, but it's done at the most important position. There is no questions with the quarterback. this podcast would never have the conversation, Jason Aponte. But if Brock Purdy doesn't sign this extension in August, I'm sure there's people out there talking about, well, you have Mac Jones on the roster, he can start, and you could hold this out until the situation resolves itself. Now there's no possibility of that conversation because Brock Purdy, the extension signed, sealed, delivered, well, not sealed and delivered yet, hasn't been officially announced yet, but we're going to get there in the next couple of days. I just think this is a good deal for both sides. Can't complain much about where he's at in terms of the value, and you can't complain about the money the Niners gave up.
I'm old enough to remember when Mac Jones was signed to be leverage against Brock Purdy. Funny how that works and funny how things change. But yeah, look, again, this is the going rate. The 49ers have gotten an insane return on investment when you look at draft capital and how much they've been paying. So now this is how it works. You know, you have to pay up. And the group that he's in is a fair group to be in terms of annual, value and things like that. Like the Jared Goff, like I think that's where we thought he would land. Jared Goff, Tua, Trevor, I don't necessarily like, or not that I don't like. I guess it has nothing to do with what I feel, but I think he could have asked for more than Trevor and Tua. He's certainly accomplished more than both of them in 2 short years.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's interesting, and then the other stuff is the guys that are higher up, or like the elite guys, right? And I think this is what we're going to have to push back on. And this is kind of where I want to start the conversation with you. Everybody wants a elite quarterback, but by my estimation, there's only 4 of them: Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. 3 of them have never won a Super Bowl. 1 of them has won multiple Super Bowls. 1 of them has been to a Super Bowl and lost. So there's 4 guys that everybody would like to have, like an elite guy. But even those teams with elite quarterbacks aren't winning. And then you have Jalen Hurts and Matthew Stafford. And essentially, 28 teams are trying to find a way to win Super Bowls without elite quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
2 have been successful. The rest have been Patrick Mahomes. So when the insult is hurled, Brock can't win you a title. Brock hasn't won a title. Neither has Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow. And we consider them elite. I'm not sure why the goalpost moves for them, because they're fantastic football players. Don't get it fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
But why is it that only Brock has to win a Super Bowl? Josh Allen doesn't. Lamar doesn't. Joe Burrow doesn't. And they're elite. And there's 28 teams trying to win a Super Bowl without an elite quarterback, because that's how few there are. So when you have that energy towards Brock and say he can't, he hasn't, then say it to Jared Goff, Dak Prescott, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, every single other quarterback that is not named Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, and Matthew Stafford, and listen to the argument that people are going to present. If you say, why hasn't Joe Burrow won? He needs help. Well, when Brock gets help, he's carried.
Yeah.
Why isn't Josh Allen won? Oh, he needs help on defense. Oh, so he needs help. It's the conversation about quarterbacks is so skewed when it should be as simple and black and white as this. One team wins the Super Bowl every single year. And even when you have an elite quarterback, turn it down, like Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, or Joe Burrow, you don't even sniff a Super Bowl. And everyone else is trying to figure it out. This deal was the best deal for the 49ers, for Brock Purdy. It fits. It works. Don't ask, can he? Don't ask, will he? Ask that same question to every other quarterback, not named those 3 that have won recently.
I think where part of that conversation comes into play, Jason, here, I'll pull up the list of the highest paid quarterbacks. That list Jason alluded to: Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, the only 2 of the elite quarterbacks above Brock Purdy, Lamar Jackson, there at the 10th spot. I think where that conversation comes from for Brock Purdy and not necessarily Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, and Lamar Jackson is look at the situation the teams were in once those players took over, right? Josh Allen takes over for the Bills. The Bills are just kind of a floundering franchise, right? Same with Cincinnati. They're a floundering franchise. Couldn't quite get over the hump with Andy Dalton, desperate for a quarterback. The Ravens, they did have a Super Bowl with Joe Flacco, but when they got Lamar Jackson, they were in a very fringe spot. Brock Purdy came into a ready-made roster, right, for a Super Bowl run, a Super Bowl roster that might have gone to a Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo the season Purdy stepped in, right, because the Niners were trending towards the 1 seed in that season, or not the 1 seed, but obviously a playoff spot, and then the Philadelphia situation happens, and then it's locked and loaded back in. Purdy gets them to the Super Bowl, so I think it's everything around him. Now, is that fair? No, it's not, because at the end of the day, every quarterback has lost to that one quarterback who wins every time, right? And it feels like Purdy's the only one held to it, but it also feels more like a Niner thing at this point because of, the 2 Super Bowls they have lost, but then you consider who their head coach is and the perception he gets for that Super Bowl that the Falcons lost, even though he wasn't the head coach. I think Purdy gets some of that flack because of who this team was before he walked into this franchise. And now he's here. And now, let's be honest, Brock Purdy is the best quarterback of the Kyle Shanahan era, right? Plain and simple, he is the best. He took the offense to another level in a very quick amount of time, and now the Niners are paying him as such. Now, is this something that could handcuff them in a few years? We'll see, right? Obviously, contracts change over a few years. Maybe the Niners move some things around to make it better. But this is a situation where the Niners had a guy that they felt comfortable with consistently leading them to a Super Bowl, or a Super Bowl contention at least. Purdy showed it his first 2 seasons. Yes, last season, a lot of things happened around him that weren't necessarily in his control. And did he have a step back in play? Yeah, he did. But you got to consider a lot of things around him didn't go right. Now you're kind of hedging your bets that everything goes right these next couple of years. And everybody's there, right? They're really outside of Fred Warner. There's not necessarily a huge contract the Niners are going to have to dish out in the next couple of years. So this might be the best time for them to get this extension done. And then, you go with this core of Bosa, Warner, Purdy, Kittle, Ayuk, ideally, because you have him for a couple more years, and then you see what you got with McCaffrey. And that's a core that, I feel like 31 other teams would kill for. And it depends on how you build around him. And now it's already the Niners have built solidly around him with last year's draft. Ideally, you got a couple more starters in this year's draft. So now it's how are they going to continue building from this contract? So I agree. I think Allen and Burrow and Jackson should be held to that same standard as Purdy, especially considering their first round picks. And Purdy is, Jason, don't know if you've heard this. Brock Purdy was the last player selected in his draft. Don't know if you've heard that one yet. But it seems like he does get held to a higher standard than those quarterbacks. And I just think it's because he entered into this Niners situation already kind of ready, set to lead it to a potential Super Bowl. You never could have expected that Purdy would turn into this. And I think going back to the days, Jason, of us going to camp and us talking about that Purdy guy not looking good, I don't think either of us could have expected this to be the end result.
No, and I think it's easy to pick on Brock Purdy because of where he was selected. And it's easy because Kyle Shanahan has made people argue about Nick Mullins being a starter and gotten things out of quarterbacks that nobody else could have. So you pair his draft status, his coach, which lifts quarterbacks, and then the pieces around him, and Brock Purdy's carried. Absolutely carried. Now, what I will say is this. The elite guys, they do far more of the carrying, but they're not derelict of weapons. They're not derelict of talent. Like Lamar Jackson has Derrick Henry. That's, Mark Andrews. That's not, these aren't nobodies. Joe Burrow has Jamar Chase, and he had Joe Mixon, and he had T. Higgins. He has T. Higgins. These are not nobodies. Josh Allen is the one that you could probably argue the most, that has done the most with the least amount of help. James Cook's a fine player, but as wide receivers go, they've been looking to get him help that entire time.
Yeah.
So you can still say two things are true. Those guys do a lot of the heavy lifting, but it's still not enough. And there's other teams that are trying to find ways to crack the code of winning a Super Bowl, since only one team wins per year, and they're doing it in different ways.
Yes.
And I think the point is there's no real way to skin a cat. It's, you can have an elite guy and not win. You can get there with a non-elite guy. There's different ways to do it. But my point is of this elite tier, only one of them has won a Super Bowl. And these are the top 4 guys. So when you want to hurl this insult at Brock, I just ask if you feel the same way towards those guys. And before you say they're all in the AFC and they have to go through Patrick Mahomes, I would retort with Brock Purdy had to go through Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. So one way or another, you're going to run into him.
Yep.
Can you beat him? Joe Burrow's done it once. Josh Allen has not. Lamar Jackson is not. Brock Purdy is not. Jimmy Garoppolo hasn't. This is the part where I feel that there's hypocrisy to this quarterback discussion. And I don't understand why better players, and yes, they're better than Brock Purdy, aren't held to a higher standard when they're expected to do more.
And when you look at this list as well, too, right? It's Dak Prescott in order. Dak Prescott, Allen, Burrow, Lawrence, Love, Tua, Goff, Purdy, Herbert, Jackson. You look at this list, there's only 4 quarterbacks you're comfortable with saying, yeah, that quarterback's better than Brock Purdy, because, you have your elite 3, and then I think Herbert is better than Brock Purdy. I don't think that's a conversation. But then after that, you're looking at Dak. You can't comfortably say he's better than Purdy because he's not, right? Purdy is better than Dak. Lawrence, you can't say it. Love, I would say Love and Purdy are closer in tiers than Niner fans would like to
Purdy's
admit.
better.
Yeah, exactly. Purdy's better. Tua, Goff. And he's the 7th highest paid player on this list. And he's probably the 5th best quarterback. So like there's value there too. It just, to me, it comes down to the Niners had those Super Bowl expectations. And yes, they aren't in the AFC, so they don't have to battle Mahomes like Allen and Burrow do as well. But as you said, Jason, Purdy had to face him in a Super Bowl. So like it's not like the NFL essentially is, no matter if you're on the AFC side or the NFC side at this point, you're going to have to go through Patrick Mahomes to win a Super Bowl. Just let's be honest, right? He's probably going to be the guy there until he's not. And it took really a remarkable Philadelphia Eagles team to knock him out. It wasn't a Jalen Hurts led team. It was the Eagles as a whole. And the Niners see that. And obviously Jalen Hurts isn't on this highest paid quarterback list. He's somewhere near kind of, if this list extended to 15, he's probably on that list without looking at it. But the Niners are ideally hoping to do what they did, is you pay the quarterback, get that figured out, and just build a solid team around him. And they already have the pieces there to have a solid team. And you cannot sit there and, like, I know there's a lot of hot take people out there saying the Niners aren't going to be good despite how bad this schedule is. I think reality is the floor for this team is a 10-win season. I think if everything goes as is, and I know that's a easy sentence to say in May, right? Because injuries exist, all that stuff. But if everything goes as it should, like, the floor for this team is 10 wins. And then the question is Brock Purdy good enough to get you to a Super Bowl, even if you're a 10-win team? Brock Purdy was good enough to get them to a Super Bowl in 2023. And I think you could argue he was good enough to get them to a Super Bowl in 2022 if his elbow doesn't explode in Philadelphia. And then it comes down to the conversation of, can you beat Mahomes? And unfortunately, the Niners, I mean, in the playoffs, every team only gets one shot at that. It's a yes or a no. And then we find out. But again, Jason, kind of as we talked about on Wednesday when we did our schedule podcast, I don't see winning an NFC championship. Like if Brock Purdy goes on into this contract and wins 3 NFC championship games and no Super Bowls, this is not a bad contract. The contract did its job. You just happened to lose one game at the start of February, right? And I don't know why he's held to this standard when no quarterback on this list has won a Super Bowl. The only quarterback, there's what, 3? Is it 3 active quarterbacks? Maybe I'm forgetting somebody that have won Super Bowls right now.
Well,
and that's Mahomes.
It's
Flacco's
5.
There.
It's
Flacco's
5.
there.
Russell Wilson's there, but we're talking about recent. Those that was 12 years ago.
Yes, and like Flacco too technically counts as an active player with a Super Bowl, but that
doesn't count though.
So if we're talking recently, like within the last, even 10 years, it's Stafford. Brady's not active anymore, so that takes out a lot of them.
Stafford, Mahomes, and
Hurts. And so, like, again, I understand, like, the whole idea of, like, has he won a Super Bowl? But realistically, Jason Aponte, unless you're one of the, not even the 1% of quarterbacks, if you're the 0.5% of quarterbacks in the NFL, you can say yes. But for the 99.5 other quarterbacks, it's a no. And again, it just comes down to, if you think you have a quarterback, you have to extend them. The Niners think they have a quarterback, therefore they had to extend him. And that's where we're at here. And now, honestly, I think the best part about this deal is Purdy's not at the top of it, because you remember 3-4 months ago, $60 million a year. And again, I know AAV isn't the end all be all of contracts. It's just the easiest way to look at it. It comes down to how it's structured. But $60 million AAV felt like the spot, and the Niners got him on a Jared Goff Tua deal. And I just don't see how that's a bad thing.
And if you thought the expectations and the way that Purdy was analyzed was unfair before, wait till this season.
Yeah.
Wait till right now.
Yeah.
The ink's not even dry on this contract or officially done. And people are already, you can't. You're dumb. Why did you? And it's unfair because the way he's going to be judged is now based on the money, right? But Jordan Love and Trevor Lawrence and Tua and all those guys, they don't get judged. I mean, Justin Herbert gets every single fucking pass in the book. Blowing leads in the playoffs to Trevor Lawrence. Losing on the road last year to the Houston Texans when they had, Tank Dell's leg was exploded. They didn't, it's interesting to watch how the rules apply to Brock, and now they don't apply to anyone else but Brock. So now, whenever there is a moment where maybe Brock has a down game, makes a wrong play, oh, there's your $55 million quarterback. But it wasn't when he was a $2 million quarterback. Like, hey, that's you're still getting great value. The goalposts are going to continue to move, and it's just based on the fact that people have a hard time understanding Purdy's rise to success based on where he is, because it is an improbable story. It is a Disney story. And then when you couple that with the factor of, Kyle Shanahan's his coach, and he has the Avengers, and it's always a qualifier. There's always something, but it'll never be that way for the players that are better. And you'll never look at them and say, my God, dude, you're supposed to do more because you're better. It's just not how it's going to happen. And unfortunately, it just sucks. And it's just part of this deal.
And I think too, if it's really easy to look at the 49ers from, let's just say, Bristol, Connecticut at ESPN, right? Where, you have people like Schefter talking about how much talent the Niners have lost and yada, yada, yada. And you can easily look at that perspective from ESPN, where they kind of follow all 32 teams, and they see this Niners team and they say, well, they got some success with Nick Mullins. They got some success with Jimmy Garoppolo. They could have gotten some success with Trey Lance. So realistically, like, how good can Brock Purdy be? Like, they've already gotten success out of these guys. But if you're somebody like me, like Jason Aponte, like anybody in this chat who watches the Niners with a microscope, because that's what we do, I think you can easily tell how much better the Niners offense has been under Brock Purdy. Just based off of the vertical game alone, how often the Niners can stretch the ball vertically with Brock Purdy compared to previous years. I mean, not to bring up bad memories, but how many times did you close your eyes when you would see Jimmy Garoppolo point his finger downfield and heave one, right? You would never know where that's going. Where Brock Purdy, it's really easy, you know where that ball is going more often than not. So that's why I think a lot of people are going to be critical about this contract is like, well, okay, well, and kind of the thought I had too. It's like, well, if you can get this out of the Niners with Jimmy Garoppolo, how come you can't get this with Mac Jones making this much instead of Purdy? But it's not as simple as that. Brock Purdy has easily been the best quarterback of this resume and maybe the best quarterback the Niners have had since 2000. Like Steve Young era, depends how you view Kaepernick, right? That's what this contract is he is the best quarterback they've had for a very, very long time, and he makes this offense better. It's not the offense makes the quarterback better like we've seen in previous years. The quarterback has made the offense better sans 2024, but again, there were so many injury issues that I don't know how you can fairly judge it. So the Niners are definitely banking a little bit that they're going to get more 2022, 2023 Brock Purdy. But if you've watched the Niners for the last 5, 6, or throughout the Shanahan era, this contract's well-deserved. And if you want to have a direct comparison, this contract's much more well-deserved than Jimmy Garoppolo's contract when he signed his extension in 2018. So that's where I'm at with it, especially with the criticism of Purdy. It's really easy to see this Niners team and be like, well, of course Brock Purdy's performing. Look at all the weapons. But unless you really, really know the Niners, you won't understand Purdy's impact on this offense.
Think about last year. I mean, they were a top 10 offense DVOA with all the injuries. That's in itself is impressive. And some 49er fans believe that the 49ers offensive line is the worst in the history of football. So you should throw that in there, and you should say that that's even more impressive for Brock. But everybody needs help. Yeah. Every time that someone says like, oh, he has a lot of help or he has a good coach, don't cry to me when one of these elite guys has no receivers then. Because I thought they didn't need help.
Yeah.
The conversation is so skewed. People have lost the plot. You strip away the draft status, you strip away, where they went to school, and you just go with what they've done, what they've accomplished, how they've accomplished it. And it becomes more clear. And again, when you look at it, after the 4 elite, week to week, Brock could be 5, Brock could be 8, Brock could be 10, Brock could be 12, Brock could be 15. That's how close the margins are after the 4 big guys.
Mm-hmm.
So it is what it is. And in a few years, you are going to see that this deal ends up being a massive steal.
Yeah.
When you start to see other guys who are going to get paid, wait till Jaden Daniels gets up for his contract.
Mm-hmm.
Wait till Drake May gets up for his contract.
Caleb Williams.
Wait till other guys get extended and moved up. And you'll see Brock fall further and further and further and further down the line. Also, if I'm Brock's agent, and again, God bless him for not being this way. There's no way I look at what Tua Tagovailoa is making and say, I'm not taking a cent less than him. In fact, I want more. I'm not taking a cent less than Trevor Lawrence. I want more. But he didn't, because that's not the type of guy he is. But he could have, and he should have probably. But hey, I'm not complaining. First of all, it's not my money. Second of all, it helps the team. But it's going to be interesting to watch how this plays out, because what everyone is screaming about right now is a contract in which we know nothing about the structure and how the money is going to be allocated from year to year. You're forgetting the cap is going to rise. And considering the booming quarterback market, this quarterback deal is going to end up being an absolute steal. It may not look as sexy as, you're paying $375,000 or whatever it was to him. That's insane return on investment. But as these deals get higher and higher, and Jaden Daniels wants to get paid, and Drake May wants to get paid, and all these guys, and Bo Nix wants to get paid, you're going to see how much of a value it is, especially if Brock continues to return on investment with the way that he's operated the offense.
Yeah, and you make that point too. The contract's going to look much better. I mean, I keep making the comparison to Jimmy Garoppolo, but there's a comparison there because Jimmy Garoppolo was the last Niners quarterback to get a big contract. Remember when Garoppolo signed his contract and he was the highest paid quarterback in the NFL? And I think that lasted a week because somebody signed after him. I forget the fine details. And slowly, I think it might have been Derek Carr. It might have been Derek Carr who was the highest paid quarterback after. And slowly but surely, the money kind of kept catching up. I think the best way to look at this, Jason, is we've used the term retool. I think this is the first official move of the retool, is because now you have the quarterback. You have the quarterback locked in a deal that, as you said, in 2 years, it's going to look like such a good contract because Daniels is going to get paid, because, Williams and May and all of them are going to get paid. This contract is going to look so good.
And the Niners didn't wait around to do the deal.
Yes. Like, that's the thing. Like, again, I mentioned at the top, like, I didn't expect to have this episode until July, Jason. I think if you and I would have talked on Wednesday during the podcast and been like, hey, you think we're going to do a Brock Purdy contract extension podcast? Both of us would have said emphatically no. Emphatically, the Yankees score again?
No, it was an amazing play by Paul Goldschmidt. The Yankees are up 6-1 though, by the way.
Oh, love it.
In the Juan Soto Bowl.
And I see Jacob here saying, "Good job, Parag." I want to mention this. I want to mention.
I give him a lot of shit. I'll lay up off you for now. Not bad.
Well, do you think that the news coming across yesterday that Jed York is maybe selling 6% of the 49ers, valuated at $8.5 billion, which, if my math is correct, which is fully possible, it's very wrong, that comes out to about $510 million. You think that has anything to do with the very next day Brock Purdy gets his extension with $181 million guaranteed?
How could you not come to that conclusion?
Yeah.
Also, did Leeds make the playoffs or whatever or something like that?
No, Leeds is even better. They're in the Premier League already. They've been promoted. So they've been promoted.
The money's rolling in. You got the Super Bowl at the stadium this year. Yep. How could you not look at that? I think that the timing of that is hilarious. And somebody brought it up on the instant reaction, and it's just, whether it did or it didn't, how could you not surmise that selling of the team, could have contributed to that?
Yeah. Very
interesting timing with all of this coming out. Whether it did or whether it didn't, it doesn't matter. It's done. But how could you not look at that and say that has something to do with it? And that's very interesting of the timing.
And I just think there's a lot of little things with this deal. And again, we got to see how it's structured, Jason. But usually you see quarterbacks get these big contracts. It's like, okay, well, how are they going to pay other players? The door's shut. I really don't think that's the case with this contract because, again, Purdy's been paid with all the other pieces already paid. The Niners are set. They have the weapons around him. Ideally, Ayuk comes back as good as Brandon Ayuk can be, right? Hopefully. Everything's set up. And I don't think this is a situation where the Super Bowl window automatically shuts because now they have, 25% or 20% of the cap going to one player. I think this is a situation where, again, if the Niners 2024 draft or 2025 draft can be as good as the 2024 draft, now you're rolling a little bit, and now the key pieces are filling in without having to pay high money for the next 3 or 4 years. So I don't know, man. I think this is a good spot to say the retool is looking good. And I just think in 2 years, or even in a week when the details of this contract comes out, we're going to be feeling really good about this Brock Purdy deal.
Somebody check on noted cap analyst and cap expert Puka Nacua, because I wonder how he feels about this deal, because he was making it seem like the 49ers wouldn't be able to employ any workers in the stands and wouldn't be able to serve refreshments if they even thought about giving Brock this money. just funny for like, NFL, when sometimes when we have opinions and they were like, oh, you think you know more than an NFL player. Yes. In this case, I absolutely do.
Still
What is playing the game do for you when you say something as asinine as that? Like, what's the point of playing the game? Like, you just don't understand how any of this works. And there are very few people that understand, but the idea that an NFL player is just everything an NFL player says is gospel. And because I have an opinion differing, they know better than me. They don't. And in this case, he doesn't. But I just want to know if Puka Nacua is okay, because I'm sure he thinks that now Trent Williams is released and George Kittle's released and Christian McCaffrey's released and Kyle Shanahan has to get fired. Like, the way he was making it sound, right?
Well, what's really funny is like at some point Puka Nacua is going to be up for a contract too.
And don't count another man's pockets, because I'll ask you what it's going to be like when you want to get paid and what are they going to do? Like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Opened the door for other players to speak on his negotiate, because like that's kind of I don't even want to say it's an unspoken rule. It's just don't talk about other players' pockets. And Puka didn't kind of do it. Puka did it. And now it's going to be interesting because Puka Nacua is going to be somebody who likely in 2 years or even next off season, he's going to be talking about maybe the highest paid receiver contract. And I think it would be very fair for other receivers to be like, well, are we sure he's worth that money? Are they sure they could pay him?
He definitely is not.
So it's just that was such a weird situation, but the Niners, they got it done. The Niners got the contract signed, and that's really the big news here, right?
They got it done early. The offseason is smooth. There's no issues going into training camp. Fred Warner, you're next. I'm not worried in the slightest about that.
No.
When you hear Fred say, I've made enough money, that'll work itself out. Not worried at all. For the most part, everybody who is important to this team is coming back. Trent Williams is going to come back. I think, again, my tinfoil hat was the reason that DJ Humphries didn't sign the deal is because the 49ers didn't know if Trent was coming back. And then Trent finally let him know, like, yes, I'm coming back. And then they were like, all right, no deal, pal, get out. But Trent, Kittle, Warner, McCaffrey, Purdy, Ayuk eventually, the season that Juwan Jennings comes off of, the growth that you expect of Ricky Pearsall, which will only be exacerbated by the fact that every single phase of this offseason program is going to be with Brock Purdy, and he'll be there. A lot of teams would kill to have that type of core. They would kill to have that type of core. Now, Robert Saleh's back. You feel much better about the run defense. The vibes are high right now.
Yeah.
And this is what it feels like to have a normal offseason. This is what it feels like for other organizations that get their contracts done and just say, hey, guys, whenever it's time for you to report, you report. But everybody's happy. Everybody's fed. Let's go chase this chicken and let's get it this year. And that's something we're just not used to. But again, I do think it is the 49ers understanding the importance of this season, the urgency of getting off to a good start. And you cannot have a losing season off of the heels of last year and with this schedule.
Yeah. Just plain and simple. I think that was the best way to put it, Jason. And you mentioned the core too. The most important part of the core is now solved. Like that's the thing. It's a young core, and the most important piece is solved. It's what number Brock Purdy was going to get and how the Niners can build around it. And they're there. The Niners are there. They've crossed the finish line. And again, I think the happiest thing about it is it's May 16th. It's not August 16th. It's not September 3rd. It's a date where now the Niners can go into this kind of dead period, right? Because it's going to be a little quiet for the next couple of weeks until they really get going. But Jason, that's the best part about it, is it's going to be a quiet period for the 49ers for the first time in 3-4 years, because it was Debo into Bosa into Ayuk. And again, I know Fred Warner's still kind of hanging out there, but that's like, he has another couple of years on his deal, right? They're just that's more of a contract extension just to get it done. So like, it's not like it's a pressing matter. So the Niners are finally going to have a quiet June, July for the first time in heaven knows how long, So it's just overall a plus today, but also a plus in the long term for 49er football that Brock Purdy's here for at least the next 6 years.
do we want to talk about the biggest news for today? While we read the super chat from Ryan Reed.
We appreciate it, Ryan Reed.
Thank you for the donation, Ryan. So happy Brock will stay a Niner. Do you guys think he has the potential to get even better over the next 5 years? I think that's what the 49ers believe as well, too. If you don't think that, they don't think that, they wouldn't have allocated the largest contract in 49ers history to him. Think about that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I definitely think so.
And if he continues to grow, like, this contract's only going to look better, because we're currently looking at this contract. We had that list up earlier, Jason, and I'll pull it up again here. But we're looking at this contract compared to everybody else, and we're talking about, him kind of being in the same tier as Jordan Love and Tua and Jared Goff. But there's a potential that Purdy takes another step where now he's blowing these guys out of the water in terms of talent, where, Tua and Jared Goff stay in that top 15 area, and Purdy launches his way into the top 7. And now you're like, oh, like, Purdy's making this much compared to the guys, So I think that's where this deal can get even better is the future development of Brock Purdy. So yeah, that's a great question, Ryan. We appreciate the donation in the super chat. But Jason, you want to talk about Greg Joseph?
Yes.
Greg Joseph, he signs with the Niners, and we got to be a little careful, though. We got to be a little careful, because this tweet came from Brett Tessler, his agent. The San Francisco 49ers just added my client, Greg Joseph, to their kicking competition. 8-year vet is signing a 1-year deal. He really wanted to mention that he holds the NFL record for most game-winning field goals in a season, which the Niners can use. But we got to be careful with these agents tweeting out deals have been agreed upon, because DJ Humphries isn't a Niner anymore, despite his agent saying that they agreed to terms a couple weeks ago. But I believe this is now 3 kickers the Niners have in the competition. They brought in an undrafted free agent. I don't have his name in front of me. I know it's really fun to talk Greg Joseph, Jason. I still think in my heart of hearts, week 1, Jake Moody's your kicker to start the season. I know Niner fans don't want to hear it, but iron sharpens iron. Maybe some competition makes Jake Moody a little better, a little more consistent.
And also, you just have to have somebody there in case Jake Moody just falls to shit.
Yeah.
Even though you can find somebody walking around. But I saw Greg and I saw Jet, and I was like, wait a minute. Greg the leg? Because the Jets just got rid of Greg Zuerlein. I was like, Legatron is my kicker? I would totally buy that jersey.
Just for the nickname.
Yeah. Again, I already I've hated the pick since before you guys trolled me, and then it happened, and I hated it even more. But I would hate that pick even more if he's not the kicker week 1. Because that's an absolute fucking failure.
Yep.
So he better.
Yeah.
He better. And if he can't beat out Greg Joseph, pack your bags, buddy, and learn Walmart. So I don't, again, me hating the pick doesn't want me to want him to fail, because I need the 49ers to be good.
Yes.
It's still poor process whether he was good or not. It's ridiculous. Doesn't make sense. Like the way that you would have looked at that is you would have needed him to be the best kicker in the league. Far from that. You just need him to be a starter now at this point. But if he's not the starter, I'm gonna hate that pick even more.
Yeah.
Because what you wasted and how arrogant the pick was to begin with.
I mean, if you compare it to this year's draft, the Niners used Upton Stout with the Jake Moody pick.
A football
and
player.
it's like and just the stark difference of a kicker to a guy who's probably going to get a significant amount of snaps in the slot this season for the 49ers.
A starter.
And the Niners used that pick on a kicker a couple years ago and won. That again, I think the best case scenario for Jake Moody is we stop talking about him being a 3rd round pick. Because the reason that leads is because he isn't kicking like a 3rd round pick. He is kicking like somebody who probably shouldn't be in the league right now. But again, the Niners, if you're somebody who doesn't want Jake Moody on this roster, you have nobody else to blame but the San Francisco 49ers. Because if this is does Jake Moody make it to the 6th round? I don't know. But if Jake Moody is a 6th-round pick, you have no problem cutting ties with him last season. No problems whatsoever. You don't think about it. But because you use the top 100 pick, you can't give up on that. And so really what this competition is you hope it's something that gets him to take another step. Maybe he learned something from Craig Joseph. Maybe he learned something from the competition and he's back, because he can be. We saw like realistically, we saw in his rookie season, he can be consistent. I know he had a couple missed kicks in that Cleveland, Minnesota area, but he was relatively consistent outside of that. And then last year he just fell off the roof, I guess. So if he has another 2024, he's gone. But if he's the 2023 kicker again, then I guess we got year 4 of Moody. But this is really, it's either going to be the last year of Jake Moody or it's not. So it's really the only person that's on at this point is Jake Moody.
To be fair, I also don't want the 49ers to force him to stay because they invested such a high pick. If he's not working, he's not working. Take the L and chalk it up. I'll still complain and I'll still bitch at you and I'll still have things to say. But that would be the right decision if he's not there. Do not force him to stay because you said we invested. Listen, if you pull the plug on Trey Lance, who is supposed to be your franchise quarterback after sending 3 first-round picks and selecting him number 3 overall, do not overthink this one at all. No. If it's time, it's time, because you've shown it's time to cut bait. We're done here. Do the same thing with him. But if he's not, I'm only going to hate the pick even further.
Jason, Brock Purdy is the quarterback. I didn't expect to have a second podcast.
I'm so happy,
week.
buddy. I'm happy because, look, here's why I'm happy. Here's why I personally, as a 49ers fan, am happy. 1, the contract's more than well-deserved. Every single cent. I will hear nothing to the contrary. 2, this offseason, we don't have to speculate now on rumors. We can focus on the development of Ricky Pearsall and Jacob Cowing and what is his defense going to look like with Robert Saleh. These are going to be the storylines now in the offseason. Not, is Purdy going to sign? What do we do? Nope. That's out the window. We can get back to focusing on football and just solely football and solely the guys that need to develop. What's going to happen this season? Optimism starts now. And speculation is gone. And that is something that I never thought would have happened on May 16th. But here we are.
I'm just happy that Purdy, we got this contract before we reached the point where Purdy was deleting all videos from his Instagram page. Because I couldn't take another one of those off seasons, Jason. I just couldn't. I couldn't, and we avoided it. And I'm very happy we avoided it. I'm happy the Niners avoided it. Jason, it was great talking to you today. I enjoyed it. As
your mic is fixed.
It is fixed. I figured it out. I had an extension cord connecting my mic to my computer, and I guess it just didn't like the extension cord. So I'm directly hardwired into it. I got it kind of readjusted some things. Microphone works now, so I'm happy we got it figured out.
Oh, here, take this one.
Are they going to fix Purdy's bad weather issues? Well, again, Stovey 4x4ing. We don't have to worry about the bad weather issues, at least in 2025. One game. Cleveland at the end of November. Maybe. Yeah. We don't know what the weather is in November. So don't have to worry about them this year. Maybe a conversation to have with next year's schedule release, but this year shouldn't be an issue.
Or maybe to his point, what if you have to go to a cold weather game in the January?
Well, that's why you just win all 17 games and have home field throughout.
I mean,
big brain thinking.
What's my saying? If I was an offensive coordinator, I would call only plays that score touchdowns. If I was a head coach, I would win every single game. If I was a general manager, I would only draft all pros. Sometimes we overthink this.
Strawberry reacts. What's also out the window? The Brock versus Mac debates. Brock's the starter, period. Boy, oh boy, just wait until Jason Aponte and I get to a training camp and we get some live reports. Then just wait. I'm sure we can do it.
It's not going to go away. There'll still be trolls that are going to try it, right? Like that are going to try it. There's a lot of people that stand on takes, which is either admirable or dumb, because what do I always say, Andrew? people would rather be right than get it right.
Mm-hmm.
Admitting that you have made a mistake with your work and everything, and then that's humility. Yeah. That's how you become a better analyst. But finding any way that you can to twist whatever's going on to make yourself look right is what many people will do. And there's some people that will stand on this, and they're going to continue to stand on it, particularly when Brock throws an interception. That's a crucial one. It's 17 games. It's going to happen, right? Like, I think, nobody has a perfect season.
Yeah.
Or if the 49ers hit the skids a little, that'll just get louder. It won't go away, but the number of people, I think, is going to get lower and lower. But that doesn't mean that those people are going to not be as loud as they are, because they want to be right. They don't want to get it right.
Stovey says only Mac starts if Brock gets hurt. Pal, I'm calling it right now.
Mac
Jones starts week 18 against the Seattle Seahawks because the Niners have everything sealed up. He gets the Sam Darnold stuff.
Jalen Milroe against McCorkle.
Ooh,
book it.
Alabama legends.
Book it.
You got the Bama storyline going in there. Oh my god, dude.
Book it.
That's how we're gonna sell the week 18 game. That's how we're gonna
Curtis
sell
Rourke,
it.
pal. Wait till Rourke comes back. Taylor Mordecai, you're out of here, pal.
Jason, it's always fun. It's gonna be a couple weeks until we're back. I didn't expect to have this episode today, but I'm gonna go to Tokyo for the next couple of weeks. So that's what I'll be doing, Jason. I'm sure there'll be a lot of great content here on Jason Aponte's YouTube channel. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to Jason Aponte's YouTube channel, because it's a great YouTube channel. Brad Graham, Steph Sanchez, Stats, all of them join to talk 49ers. I will be out of the country. Jason Aponte will have great content. I'm sure he'll have some stuff coming out next week regarding Brock Purdy's contract extension, and then more details to come. But Jason, I'm excited. Year 6 coming up. We got, again, I said Wednesday, really the last deal of business that the NFL has to do is the schedule announcement. We are now full steam ahead to the 2025 season. I'm very excited.
I'm almost scared because things are going a little too well this offseason.
Yeah.
Like
that's fair.
When's the knife coming?
Yeah.
When's the rug gonna get pulled? And I'm not trying to put that out in the air. I'm just saying, like, it's quiet. It's too quiet.
Like outside of the free agency, just the Niners not really signing anybody in free agency, which I think if you read the tea leaves, that shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. This has been a very solid offseason for the 49ers.
Yes.
I feel like they nailed the draft. They addressed really their biggest needs. I know people like to talk about the offensive line, but like the offensive line, Stovey, I'm not even going to show that comment to throw that up there
because it's not happening.
Not even going to throw it out there. But yes, that would probably be the knife coming in, Jason.
I'd be furious.
But man, it really feels like outside of the free agency situation, this feels like a positive offseason for the 49ers.
Never a doubt. Couldn't have gone any smoother, man. No holdouts, no issues. Everybody, we're getting the band back together. Couple it with the schedule, and it feels like hope. It smells like hope in the air.
I mean, if you want to go one step further, Leeds got promoted to the Premier League in this offseason. So like Jed York, Parag Marathe, got to be so excited for this offseason. And Jed York, as I said, probably made a cool $500 million by selling 6% of the 49ers yesterday. Hey, man, just nice and casual Wednesday for billionaires. Am I right, Jason?
Yeah, you know what? I think we should sell some of the team. Yeah. You know what? Let's do it.
How much money is that in my pocket again? Yeah, I will do that gladly. Jason, it's been fun. Jason Aponte, as always.
Let's go Niners, and let's go Yankees. Juan Soto sucks.
And let's go Knicks. Let's go Knicks. Knicks
maybe.
and 6. It rhymes.
Maybe. Welcome, everybody.
We are live.
My name is Jason Aponte.
I am Andrew Pasquini.
We're working. That's it. We're working over here. That's it. Let's go Niners.